the pronator teres, the proximal attachment, has two heads. The ulnar head is on the coronoid process of the ulna, and then the humeral head is on the medial epicondyle of the humerus. And then the action is that it pronates and flexes the forearm, and the innervation is the median nerve. And then for the pronator quadratus, the proximal attachment is on the distal quarter of the anterior surface of the ulna, and then the distal attachment is the distal quarter of the anterior surface of the radius. It pronates the forearm, and its innervation is the anterior interosseous branch of the median nerve. So to test the pronator teres, you're going to have the patient seated. You're going to support at the elbow, and then you are going to try to supinate them as they try to pronate. And then for the pronator quadratus, you're going to do the same thing, except they're going to take out the pronator teres by flexing the elbow more, and you're going to try to supinate them as they pronate.
Okay, you're Angela, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you're right about everything, but what is the difference? Why do you de-emphasize the pronator teres by flexing the elbow?
It takes out like the resistance, so whenever they are flexed, whenever you're like pronating them, they're also kind of resisting against the flexion.
Okay. Well, it's actually, remember we were talking about the how to de-emphasize the long head of the triceps? What you're doing is you're relatively shortening the long head of the triceps. So you're giving it a less advantageous length-tension relationship. In the same way, you know, you've got the pronator teres is going to be working as much with the elbow more extended compared to the elbow being more flexed. But with the elbow flexed, you've put the pronator teres in. Excuse me, let me rewind that a little bit. The pronator quadratus is going to be working the same amount with the elbow relatively flexed and the elbow relatively flexed and the elbow relatively extended. However, by shortening the pronator teres through elbow flexion, you've put it in more of a position of relative active insufficiency, and therefore you've decreased its contribution to the motion. So that's how that works. It's the same as with the long head of the triceps. You're putting it, the muscle that you want to de-emphasize in a position of relative active insufficiency. Right?
And then for anti-gravity, you're going to have the patient seated next to the table, and then you're going to have the elbow on the table, and then you're going to have them in supination, and then you're just going to have them pronate their forearm.